All right, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining for our Woo You event tonight with Nick Despotidis. Did I say that right?
Oh, yeah. Perfect. Thank you, Ariel.
um, just like it sounds, just spelled. So he's going to go over Myopia Management Marketing 101. So I'd like to introduce our speaker for tonight. Nick practices in Hamilton, New Jersey with Barry Tannen, Ivan Lee, and Noah Tannen. Together, they have one of the largest practices in the country, specializing in myopia management. Nick is the lead author of two books, My Children Are Nearsighted Too, and A Parent's Guide to Raising Children with Healthy Vision. His TEDx talk, A Childhood Disease Worth Preventing, educates parents on the growing number of children affected by myopia and possible treatments available to them. If you haven't checked it out, definitely do. I share this with all of my parents following myopia management talks, and they all love it. And his workshop, Supercharge Your Practice, is the most sought after practice management course offered at the Vision by Design Symposium, which we'll get to hear about later tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ariel. So I just want to reveal that I speak for Cooper Vision and wanted to thank him tonight for being an exhibitor. And I also speak for Oculus and their equipment, and that we revealed all our relationships. So tonight I'm going to talk about marketing, and I'm going to try to do it in the context of a story about my practice. How did it come about? Where I was a general practitioner doing a multitude of specialties within my practice, and how did I specifically within the practice transition into myopia management, and how did I grow it? So I get about one question a month, sometimes one question a week from a respected colleague. And this came in my inbox from this OD that I really respect. It's a common question. She said, "Hi, Nick. My OK candidates are identified during their yearly exam. Most of them use their insurances. I spend a lot of time explaining the benefits of myopia management, which backs up my other exams. And that used to happen to me all the time. I understand I should be dropping insurances because she knows I advocated, especially vision plans. But what other steps should I be taking?" And I thought this is such a relevant question for tonight's webinar, because most of us are in this colleague's shoes. So let's back up about 20 years. About 2000, 2001, I was in practice about 13 years at the time. We were doing well financially. Our gross was very high, and personally, Barry and I, who are partners, we're doing relatively well. But we were very busy, and I can't tell you we were very happy. Our staff was quitting. Some weeks, even though our gross was high, we didn't have money to take home at the end of the day, at the end of the week. So although our practice was seemingly successful on the outside, we kind of realized after doing this for about 12 years, we needed to change. And Barry found this dentist in Australia, Paddy Lunn. And he says, this nutty dentist, he's talking about a happiness-centered practice. And, we weren't thinking that modality. We were thinking growth. We were thinking cash flow. We were thinking our personal income. But happiness, we didn't really think about happiness. And what this dentist pointed out to Barry, and later we started buying his books and listening to his tapes back in the day, is that we spend most of our day, most of our lives with our staff and our patients. And what this dentist was brave enough to do is change his private practice. He had two partners at the time, I believe. He got rid of them. He cut his front desk in half. He dropped all insurances, and in Australia, socialized medicine, no easy task. And he would see patients by referral only. And I always was intrigued by that. He would ask each of his patients to refer at least two more patients that would appreciate his type of care. He did no advertising. And at the time we were advertising, whether it was newspaper or cable TV or penny savers. He locked his front door. And this is pre-COVID. And we found that hilarious. How does he survive if he doesn't have his front door open? And he's not in the phone book, and he doesn't accept insurances. So he purposefully orchestrated reducing his patient volume by 50%. Again, we were in the mode busy is better. And busy is more money, busy is more profitable. And somehow deep in our gut, we thought something was wrong with that assumption, that theory. He also only worked about 3 days a week, 24 hours, 23 hours a week, which intrigued me at the time because I was not working weekends, maybe every third weekend, but I was working a full week. And his income went up, according to him, 2.5 times. Now, I got this all off his website, but I remember back in the day, this was what intrigued us about him. And here's the last one. He loves going to work and is really happy. And at the time, I was proud of my office, but I can't tell you that I was very happy, and my staff wasn't very happy. So what does this have to do about marketing orthokeratology or myopia management? Well, after doing this in 2000, 2001, I applied his techniques to my myopia management side of the practice, which was minuscule. I was doing maybe 1 fit a month, if that. I was dabbling in it. And I said, I can't do this in every aspect of my practice, which was totally primary care, everything that's involved with it. But maybe I can really just kind of apply this to my myopia management. And at the time, they were ortho-K patients. And sure enough, I want to show you this video. Within 5 years, I found this video. The video was so old, I had to have someone from Wu University convert it so we could play. It's 2015, and my wife is videotaping this. That's why it's not a professionally made video. And what I did was I had maybe 1,000, 1,500 ortho-K patients at that time. So we're talking about 15 years ago or so. And we rented out this movie theater that you see in the upper right-hand corner. It was a 24-plex movie theater. We rented out the whole theater. And I invited all my ortho-K patients and their parents. One parent came, siblings came for free to this event. And I had Paragon at the time sponsor because they had CRT. I had Bausch & Lomb help me out. It was a huge venture. And I want to show you how many people were outside. It was a very hot August day, I believe. It was certainly a summer day. And I didn't know this was going on because I was inside. And my wife now you could see the front door, and she wanted me to see how many people, how many of my patients, how many ortho-K patients, these are just myopia management patients back in 2000. I guess this was 2007. This was 2007. So if you notice, look at the median age. It's about 12 years old. Look at the ethnicity. Look at the excitement. They're all waiting in this heat of summer as I'm preparing for them to go inside, very orchestrated manner. So I just want to show you that even in 5 years, from 2001 to 2007, I was able to develop an ortho-K practice using the techniques I'm about to share with you. It's quite impressive, even for me looking at this so many years later, how many of my patients came to this event and how many of my patients were wearing ortho-K lenses. So I don't show you this to impress you. I really want to impress upon you that these techniques are real. So what I think when we talk about myopia management, the first differentiation we have to make is, in my view, there's a difference between marketing and advertising. I used to think they were the same. Advertising is non-personal promotion of services. So when we used to do the penny saver and place ads and things of that nature, it was pretty non-personal. Come to us, we're good eye doctors, we'll give you a good eye exam for a fair price. That's advertising. Marketing is orchestrated, is structured, so encourages qualified referrals. And that's what this talk is all about. This is what I'm all about. The majority of my focus is having my patients enjoy their experience within my office, so much so that they refer patients to my practice. And I call them qualified, and we're going to define that later on. So advertising is what a lot of us are doing or have done. For example, maybe some Facebook ads, maybe some Google optimization. Your website provider says, hey, listen, I can get you on the #1 ranking at Google. When someone Googles ortho-K or myopia, you'll be #1. That's what I call Google optimization. We invest in our websites. newspaper ads, maybe for some of us, if we're really, archaic at this point, mailings and brochures. This is what I consider advertising. And why is it not effective, in my opinion? Even if it gets the phone to ring, people will call and they're not qualified. They're not educated. They're going to ask, how much is ortho-K? What is myopia management? Does insurance cover it? Does it qualify for flex spending account? Is it new? I never heard of it. Is it safe? Is it permanent? These are all valid questions, but our receptionists really are overwhelmed at times. They're checking people in, maybe they're verifying insurances, and they're answering the phone. This phone call in my office can take upwards of 45 minutes. And it's a certain skill that's needed to make sure that transfers or translates to a consultation, which I always recommend. So in my opinion, even if you get the phone to ring, it's relatively ineffective because the return on the investment of spending the funds to get the phone to ring and then getting that patient to translate to an exam or consultation, in my opinion, is a very poor return on investment. So I think the first choice or the first lesson I'd like you to learn from me is you can do anything, but you can't do everything incredibly well. And when I got out of optometry school, I really felt I was multidisciplinary, and I was pretty good at a lot of things. Today, we're bombarded with myopia management, maybe vision therapy. We may hear a few of our colleagues, our classmates are doing VT and they're killing it, or they're doing it very well, so maybe we should do it. Of course, dry eye a few years ago, that was the in vogue specialty with myopian gland analysis and expression and lipoflow, etc. Contact lenses, we get a lot of scleral lenses and specialty contact lenses in addition to our soft lenses. At the time we did low vision, some of us may dabble in that. Of course, eyeglasses is a staple of optometric offices. And medical optometry, we constantly hear about different billing and coding and things of that nature. So maybe we're not doing enough billing and coding, we're not optimizing it. And most recently, of course, is I get a kick out of it, is presbyopia management, as if pilocarpine was just invented, but maybe we feel that we should be doing Vuity or something like that. We're missing out on it. So what I feel these specialties do, this diversity, is dilute my focus. So in my practice now, we are truly multidisciplinary, but I divided out amongst my partners. As Ariel read initially, we have 4 partners and we have 2 optometric residents. And my main focus, my total focus, is myopia management. Specifically, how do I give my families, my patient families, an incredible experience so they refer friends and family? And that's what I'm going to introduce to you today. Myopia management for me has given me tremendous personal and professional fulfillment. It improved our profitability. And what I like about it's a large barrier to entry, even though we're being bombarded by ads and studies that tell us that myopia management is a must. It is, but as you'll develop in the coming slides, is an understanding that even though there's an epidemic of myopia, doesn't mean every family is going to want to take advantages of modalities that control the myopia. It reduces your dependence on insurance plans if you follow my lead and have enough courage to drop 1 or 2. I don't advocating dropping all insurances, but I systematically did it over 2 decades. So what I do want to say to the colleague who asked me this question is I would tell her, listen, maybe there's one plan that you just keep because you don't see a lot of patients. Well, it wears on you mentally. And if your staff is telling you to drop it or your gut is telling you to drop it, maybe consider dropping it so you do have a little bit more time to implement the systems that I'm about to show you. And what I love about myopia management, patients are unbelievably loyal. We'll talk about they travel distances to come to my office. All these kids that you saw from 15 years ago in 2007 are now adults, doctors, lawyers, business people, housewives, husbands that are in the household. So a variety of adults, but they still come to me. And this is why I really feel myopia management is a niche market. It's a niche market, is that you need to orchestrate your fee presentation, because I was getting lazy 10, 15 years into practice. I would recommend, for example, a glaucoma evaluation when the pressures are high or cupping is suspicious. And the patient would ask me, sure, of course, does insurance cover it? Same thing with punctal plugs. I would mention it. Patient would ask me, does insurance cover it? I never really got good at that point to explain, no, it doesn't, but let me tell you why you have to have this done. So I think many practitioners may dabble with myopia management, but ultimately, for you to be effective and grow a practice that's really worth seeing these myopia management patients, you have to get good at presenting fees, in my opinion. You have to invest in equipment, there's no doubt. And it's ever changing. It's so sophisticated. So you need not only to invest in equipment, you need to invest time to learn how to use the equipment. You need to buy trial lenses like CRT lenses, which I have in my office. And there's a learning curve. There's no doubt about it. But the main reason I feel this will stay as a niche market is it's not covered by insurance. That's my understanding. I think you need some prerequisites before you start marketing your myopia management practice. You have to enjoy treating children. It's more than enjoy. I get tremendous fulfillment seeing kids grow up within my practice. You know, I'm in practice over 30 years now, right? And one of the greatest joys I have is when adults that I examine as children bring their children to see me. You have to be thick-skinned. In the beginning, I had to be thick-skinned because a lot of people would refer against me. Don't do ortho-K. It causes keratoconus, I used to hear. It causes severe side effects, the corneal distortion. So not only did ophthalmology maybe criticize me, but optometry, so I had to develop thick skin. Now my skin is thick because I can't be distracted by shiny things. I can't have FOMO, fear of missing out, right? I have to stay focused because, like you, I'm tempted. I say, well, maybe I should be doing presbyopia management, or maybe I should be doing more scleral lenses. That's really a shiny thing for me because I do sclerals like most people do myopia management. I just do a case here, a case there. I dabble. It's more of a clinical challenge for me than it is a profit center for me. So I have to make sure that I'm not chasing shiny things. Specialty care cannot be integrated efficiently into a primary care practice. You need separate systems. So it will test your systems. You need systems. If you start out with people dependency, that's okay. But as soon as you grow, as soon as you start seeing just one new consultation a week, your systems will start to erode or break down. And like a thermostat, it clicks, and all of a sudden you go back to doing just one a week, one a month, maybe one a year. And it really does require separate systems for patient care. So we're going to go through these systems, specifically insertion and removal classes, and also we'll go over my follow-up care, which not only are critical for me to do it optimally, but in order for me to properly market my practice. And I'm going to say this more than once during today's webinar. If you squeeze your patients into your normal schedule in between exams or contact lens checks or glaucoma checks, you're going to fail. There's just no way around it. So my advice to the colleague who asked the question is you could accept insurance, but you got to set time aside to speak to your patients at least once you refer them for a consultation. How does myopia management differ from primary care? Well, number one, all my patients are children or young adults. Frequent visits, sometimes 6 times a year, sometimes 8 times a year. On a bad patient, 12 times a year for the first year. And then it weeds out to maybe 3 times a year Remember, a lot of them are coming to me for myopia management. We'll expand on that. And when they're adults, I see them once or twice a year, depending on the adult. It requires consistent communication between visits. So your primary care exams, if they get glasses from you, if you dispense glasses or soft contacts, you see them, and then in a year you recall them. And that's the extent of the communication. Maybe you send out a newsletter. For me, you'll see the way I market to my patient is persistent, consistent, unrelentless communication. The great thing about this is my primary care practice, most of my patients are within a 5-mile radius of my office, primary care. For myopia management, people travel several hours, up to 4 hours, to come and see me, passing several practitioners who do myopia management or fit CRT or other corneal reshaping lenses. I think it's because what I equate as marketing is really high quality care. And it differs from primary care insurance because most primary care practitioners, not all, but the majority, accept vision plans and insurance. So the most commonly asked question that I get is, Nick, do you have a brochure that I can give patients who are candidates for myopia management? That's a form of marketing, I guess, right? Internal marketing. And the brochure has some topics like, what is myopia management? What is the benefits of myopia management, orthokeratology or corneal reshaping, and some success stories. That's the basics, I feel, in a brochure. And this is lazy marketing. Practitioners may want a brochure that converts a patient from curiosity into an actual child wearing the lens. It ain't going to happen. It just doesn't happen. So you can give a brochure to reinforce your recommendation. But as this OD who asked the question, you have to spend time to explain to a parent, what is ortho-K or myopia management? Why are you recommending it? What are the benefits to it? So it's time consuming. Giving them a pamphlet, you'll be fortunate if it makes it outside your front door before they throw it away. The way I built my practice 20 years ago was I used to give seminars, and they were live seminars. I would go to Chinese schools. I would go to churches. I would go to anywhere, any people who would invite me to talk about the myopia epidemic before it was even kind of popularized. I would take my slide projector and I would take my PowerPoint and I would go and give presentations. Post-pandemic, all my seminars are virtual. They're not as effective as my in-person. Like now, I'm doing this webinar. I get dressed. I wear a tie. Why? Not for you, but for me, because I'm just talking to a screen. Same thing when I give a seminar to my patients, but they're effective in a number of ways. It's not that I talk about myopia management. I don't talk about ortho-K. I talk about topics that are of interest to parents who would consider myopia management for their patient. Let's repeat that. I don't talk about myopia or the myopia epidemic directly. I talk about topics that is of concern to parents who are interested in controlling their child's myopia. So during the pandemic, I must have given at least 6, and I know the pandemic's not over, but at least in 2020, when everybody was going dark because we were all scared to death, I would do contests. I would give lectures, and the most popular, by none, thousands of people tuned in. I don't even know where they came from, was blue filtering glasses. Why? Because we're all on screens, and there was great advertising and marketing that the blue light is harming us, and we got to wear these blue light filtering glasses so we don't have eye strain. It was all over the place. If you look, I think Amazon has, 40,000 reviews on these glasses. So I give this seminar with my partners, and we talk about, you know what? I don't think they're valid. The research doesn't show that. So it may not be in agreement with you, but I'm telling them it doesn't slow down myopia. It doesn't prevent myopia. It may not even relieve eye strain. And we talk about studies. Doesn't mean we're wrong, but that was by far the biggest engagement that we had. And even today, 2 years later, people are thanking us for that webinar. We would talk about smartphone overuse. On every parent, even adults, what's on our mind is smartphones. We're addicted to them. They're tethered to our hands. Parents want to know, how much is too much? How do I, take the phone away from my child without ostracizing them? They want to know about screen time. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that our children are on screens way too much. And during the pandemic, their school was on screens, their socialization was on screens, their entertainment was on screens. So we would talk about that. So these are easy topics for you to do. Whether you have a Facebook group, you just kind of invite all your patients, or that demographic that you want to target, maybe parents. Lack of sleep, also a very big issue with parents. Most recently, what you're looking at in a photograph now was my first in-person webinar since March 2020. I had it outdoors. I rented a movie screen that was just 3 stories high. And this is a drone, because the population who's interested in myopia management, they are highly educated, very interested in computer science. So I had my camera person have a drone. And before I start this documentary, which talks about the side effects, the emotional side effects of too much screens, we did a drone demonstration. And I could tell you that captured everyone's attention. So the reason they're smiling at the drone as they are getting ready to watch a 1-hour documentary called Screenagers, the next chapter. So this whole event was quite costly for me, and maybe only 75 parents showed up. But as you will learn, it's not that those 75, they're already my patients. It's the word of mouth. It's the goodwill. It's that Patty Lund dentist thing. I'm more than your eye doctor. I'm a respected friend, an educated friend in the area of vision. So they're smiling. We wear the documentary, and then we do a Q&A in the middle at the end. And there was significant buzz. I invited all my patients, but it was the parents interested in myopia management, coincidentally or not, who showed up. So before we proceed, for those of you who don't have any myopia management patients, you got to get 1 or 2 for this system to work. And remember, when I started out, when CRT just became FDA approved in 2002, I had very few. I was dabbling, maybe 1 a year sometimes, 1 a month, So you do these virtual webinars or Facebook Live. One of the ones that were also well attended is I would interview my colleagues, dentists, and say, listen, a lot of my patients want to be doctors. How did you choose to become a dentist? And she will tell me how she became a dentist and her path into dentistry. I'll interview business people. Why? The parent who's interested in myopia management is a very involved parent in their child's upbringing. So when you do these webinars, you're developing goodwill, a very solid foundation. And you could talk about, why are you talking about professions? And then you talk about why you're interested in myopia management, why you became a doctor, why you fit ortho-K lenses, and things of that nature. So it's a very smooth and easy transition. Why is an eye doctor talking about smartphone use? Well, it affects the eyes. It keeps the kids indoors, and we need them to play outside. So we'll go in that further. So you see the link. But these techniques work very well when you have 1 or 2 myopia management patients already in your office. And I think one of the keys, the first key to success, is knowing the difference between myopia control and myopia management. And this is just my terminology, but it works very well for this purpose. I view myopia control as treatments. It's a treatment designed to slow down the progression of myopia control. And as far as I know, there's 4 treatments. In addition to going outside, there's atropine eye drops, which is not FDA approved. There's multifocal lenses like MySight, and more to come, soft multifocal, both off-label and on-label. There's very good glasses, special glasses that can slow down the progression of myopia that are going to come hopefully into the US soon. And of course, there's orthokeratology. So these techniques are what I call myopia control. It's very different than myopia management. If you heard me speak, this is worth hearing again. I've learned doing this for 20 years. The family, the parent who's interested in controlling their child's myopia with an ortho-K lens, with a rigid gas permeable lens that their child will put in their eye every night and remove every morning, is very, very different than the average primary care parent that I would see in my practice. And this holds true for other areas of our life. For example, I don't think many of us can disagree. There's an obesity epidemic within our country, including pediatric obesity. But all of us, including my own family, sometimes don't even follow this. We eat pizza, we eat chicken nuggets and ice cream, and we don't follow what we should be doing, maybe what the pediatricians had told us. But there's other families that really buy in. It's a certain demographic. They buy organic foods, possibly. They make sure the children get the right macronutrients. So managing the family interested in myopia is what I'm all about. Because just because there's an epidemic of myopia doesn't mean every family is going to be interested in orthokeratology for their child. So like how I started this webinar, by that question, I had the same struggle my colleague had. I would recommend to 40 myopic families, 40 children who are myopic, myopia control. And you could hear from my voice, I'm pretty passionate about it. And only 1 out of 40 families that I recommended ortho-K to would translate into a fit. So I suffered just like my colleague, just like many of you, because the jump from saying your child is progressing to myopia, that there are myopia control techniques that we can use to slow it down. And you need to come in and let us try a lens to see if the child's a candidate, is a very long road. Remember when LASIK first came out, there was an incubation period. And the same thing with myopia management. They may listen to you the first year, maybe listen more carefully the third year, but maybe sign up for the 5th year. But like that colleague said, now you've backed up your patients whenever you talk about myopia management. So that's how you self-sabotage, because if you don't self-sabotage yourself, your staff will, because you're running behind. The family who's interested in myopia management, in addition to myopia control, in my estimation, in my observation, is a parent, a helicopter parent. They're very, very engaged into their child's education, their child's development. A highly educated parent, usually. A guilty parent. We'll get into that more carefully, but they're guilty because they probably gave their child myopia in one form or another. It could be genetic, or it could just be that never let them play outside. It's usually a competitive parent. They want to know, what do you do? You know, where do you go for a math tutor? Where do you go for this? There's chat groups that they use to find places of business that they all seek care. They want to go to the best, especially for their children. And certainly the parent who's interested in myopia management is a parent who views myopia as a disease, even more than I do. So if you have a parent in the chair and you're examining the child and you turn to the parent and you say, you know, Johnny used to be negative 2.00. I'm sorry, they are now negative 2.5. They progressed this year. And that parent starts to tear up or welt or turn red. Then that is a demographic you need to spend time with. If that parent says, oh, well, listen, just give me a new prescription, I'll get them online or at Costco, I'm not sure it's worth your time and effort to talk about a preventive measure for them. So the way I market, and there's no right way, but I could tell you I have a multi-million-dollar practice which is based on myopia management. I'm pretty good at it, is I create raving fans. And what is a raving fan? It's a parent that is so happy with the care that I've provided, they not only refer friends and family, but they educate them before they come to my office. And that should be your goal, whatever specialty that you're practicing. Raving fans lead to qualified referrals. Another word for qualified is educated referrals. So you have to ask yourself, how are you going to make patients so happy with your care they become raving fans? And here's the hint. It has nothing to do with how well you correct their vision. No parent goes, you got to go to Dr. D. My kid can see through walls. My kid has 20/15 monocular VA. No, they'll say, go to Dr. D's office. He is special. Don't waste your time. Let me tell you about his office. That's the key. Don't waste your time. Now, if I had a scleral practice, I know exactly what I would do. I would not market to my patients or their parents. I would market to the practitioners, the corneal specialists, the oncologists, the rheumatologists who would refer patients to me, because that's my demographic. I could have the happiest keratoconic patient, but and shower them with love and TLC like I do anyway, but it won't lead to showering of referrals. So you have to know your demographic. So what is a qualified referral? It's an influencer. Like my kids always talk about influencers on Snapchat or some type of social media, right? It's a respected friend or colleague. I don't know which parent is that influencer, but I know in a day, there is an influencer among the parents that I'm treating. They go on the chat groups like WeChat, and they'll talk about their experience with their child. So I treat every parent as if they're an influencer. Why? Because they educate my referral before they even pick up the phone. They'll tell them, this is not cheap, costs X number of dollars. And Dr. D is not the least expensive. It's not covered by insurance. And they share their personal experience. Sometimes they have the parent come over their house and they show the child putting in the lenses and taking them out every day. And so you could imagine the parent is like, what? I didn't think you're supposed to sleep with lenses. And your child, how old is third grade? And how about, don't they wash their hands? And aren't you afraid of infections? So the parent now becomes the influencer. No, he's been doing this since he's 7 years old. He washes his hands. We clean. Let me show you this clear care bottle we put him in. We go see him and he measures their eye to see if the myopia gets worse. He even talks about to kids about more than their eyes, and they share their experience. So instead of me talking to the parent who's never heard of myopia management or CRT or ortho-K and educating them, what has made me so incredibly happy and successful is the techniques that I'm sharing with you have yielded educated referrals, quality referrals by influencers. And so how do I get these influencers to refer to me? It's because I've this kind of epiphany of reading a lot. I realize parents have different wants and needs. They're totally different. And I'm going to describe them for you. I'm going to go very slow because this is a critical part of marketing. Parents want myopia control. That's why they come to me. They want it. And they want good visual acuity. I notice I didn't say good vision, right? They want good VAs. A lot of the parents are checking their children's VAs. So they want myopia control and they want good visual acuity. We could even go as far as say they want good monocular visual acuity. And if I just stop there, I will dabble in myopia management. I'll do one case, a week here and there. And that's what most practitioners will stop at. I found parents have these conscious and subconscious needs. They need me to relieve them of their guilt. Tell them, yeah, it's genetic. Sure, you're -8, your child is -3. But you know what? They also inherited the good genes. like your intelligence, and parents laugh. I also say that, you know what, you are pressuring your kid. There's a lot of remedial homework and music lessons. This is not good for them. You're not giving them the competitive edge to socialize outdoors. So I talk about that guilt. And I also, patients, let me tell you something. If you have a parent of a myopic child who's had LASIK, that's like a slam dunk, because they feel guilty. They've gotten rid of their need for their glasses, and their child is wearing glasses. So that is like a big demographic in my office, is parents who've undergone laser vision correction and they want to do something for their children. So it's a totally different demographic. So I kind of like address this guilt, not by laying on the guilt, but actually excusing that guilt. I also incessantly, almost at every follow-up visit, talk about social media, TikTok, YouTube, Roblox. The names change, the problem's the same. Children are spending too much time on a screen and replacing screen time with face-to-face eye contact. So who better to talk about parents than an eye doctor about eye contact and social skills and EQ, emotional quotient? And their kids are on their phone all the time, on Snapchat, WeChat, Instagram, Discord, you name it. So that's a need. That's a subconscious and conscious need that I address at every visit. And of course, I talk about sleep, because these kids multitask. They go to sleep 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and the pediatrician doesn't mention it. I do. So if you just address the parents' wants of visual acuity and clear vision, or visual acuity and myopia control, you're selling yourself short. The needs, you got to address the needs for you to be successful. So it's pretty simple how I address their needs, but it's not easy. It's so remarkably simple rather. With the right system, it's just amazing to me that other practitioners don't do it, because it requires systems, and that's not easy. I have to communicate with parents incessantly, before their appointments, during their appointments, after appointments. And whenever they ask me a question, it has to be with urgency. I am one of these type A parents, that helicopter parent that drove their kids into myopia. I understand my needs, right? Is I need attention. When I ask a question, a minute is too long for a response. So I respect the want of my parents to get back to them with expediency. I spend time at every visit, not only the consultation, every single visit. And so do my partners during the visit. I know when someone's trying to rush me. They stand up. I have to say, can I have one more question? And they look at me like, are you kidding me? If I do that, I'm no longer creating raving fans. And therefore, these raving fans are not sending qualified referrals to my office. So you could see how simple this is. I'm not telling you you need to optimize your website. You need to get this ad. You just need to spend time consistently with your parents, and you have to communicate with them. And we always have a dedicated staff assigned to patients. So in the beginning, this was hard. When I was dabbling, I had to find one person that understood the wants of my population, of my demographic. Now I have a series, because I'll see 100 patients a week that are ortho-K. And this is just my part of the practice. My partner, Barry, does vision therapy. So he has his staff of vision therapy. Ivan and Noah also do primary care. So we have a whole primary care section. But I have my own staff that understands the spoken and unspoken needs of a parent who's interested in myopia management. So let's use an example. Let's give you an example. So in the application and removal class, this is touch and go. A lot of us, after someone signs up, we say, hey, we got a consultation, we got a sign up. Let me tell you something. You've done nothing yet. This is just when the party starts. You now have to teach a child how to insert and remove the lens. And during that appointment, we have a very stressed out child. We usually have a stressed out parent. We definitely have a staff now who's stressed because the parent is breathing down. Remember who your demographic is. It's type A on the technician and on the child. And this is where I used to get buyer's remorse. So let me show you the simple system we instituted. Before every insertion and removal class, we email, Hannah does, my technician. The subject line is 3 steps to success. So it says, dear to the parents of Stella, my name is Hannah. I'll be teaching your child how to insert, remove, and care for their lenses. This is so nice, right? I have 3 insertion and removal technicians. They are assigned their parents. Isn't it nice? You already, the teacher, the technician has introduced themselves. And there's a few things that helped us plug up some leaks. They reinforce that your arrival time is at 9:40 in the morning on July 26th. If you come late, that time will be subtracted from the hour we've allotted, and you may require second class. So the reason we put this in, patients were coming 10, 15 minutes late. To us, that just takes us 10 minutes to get the child to put a drop in their eye. So the first lesson here is we introduce my technician. We say, hey, listen, you have an appointment with me. Come on time. She also sends her a video and watches a child. Sometimes it's the CooperVision video, that cartoon of inserting and removing a lens. If it's a young child, we'll have a higher level video. It doesn't matter the video. We're assigning homework, and we're telling them children who watch the following video tend to perform better during the class. Who doesn't want their child to perform well during their class? And we give them, after the consultation, I gave a nice webinar for CooperVision last week. It was how to engage your patients in your program, or how to enroll your patients in the program. I recommend going to that, because today I'm talking about the follow-up visits, but I talk about in that webinar the consultations, because what we do is we give them re-wetting drops at the time they sign up for the program, so they practice just with re-wetting drops. I have found if this child practices as we assign it 1 to 4 times every day, the INR is smooth. If they don't practice, we sometimes have a big hill to climb. And listen to how Hannah finishes off her email. And I give the autonomy for Hannah to customize her email. My goal is to make your child's experience as pleasant and informative as possible. So right here, the buyer's remorse, the barrier now is a little lower, right? We've assigned some over, and we didn't even start the program yet. During the application removal class, we tell parents, another thing we tell them is, like, if your child passes the class on the first try or second try, they get a $30 gift card. Before I got super busy, we would customize every gift for a child. And I recommend you do that. So if they like Legos, we'd have a Lego set that the child picks from Amazon up to $30. If they wanted a skateboard, fishing rod, you get the picture. We provide snacks. And during COVID, we changed from snacks to goodie bags, because we staple them shut. We make them beautifully colored. And I notice children are calling them goodie bags. So we went from snacks to goodie bag. We controlled nervous parents, because parents were on top of the child. They were on top of the technician. So we asked the parent now, for COVID reasons, and also to kind of give the child some space, to wait in our reception room. Once they get it in and out twice, you'll be able to come in the third time and videotape the third time. Why videotape? Because they were doing it anyway. And parents love to have some reference when they go home. And we allot about an hour and a half, an hour, 20 minutes the most. And right now, just this 2 steps, right? Getting a gift card. So now we've gained leverage with the child. Remember, one of the key components that I'm going to teach you is that just because a parent is interested in myopia management for their child doesn't mean the child's interested. So this Amazon card has helped us gain leverage. The other thing is just a simple email beforehand assigning homework. Are you practicing your drops, which we have that also? Watch the video, come on time. Otherwise, we're just not going to run over. It works. And now we follow up afterwards. And this is all orchestrated. Again, Hannah, I'm emailing to see how Stella did with her lenses last night. Hopefully everything went well. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to ask. Please feel free to send us an email or give us a call. I have also copied Doctors D, Lee, and Noah on this email to keep them updated as well. short email. So you could see, we get bombarded sometimes. It's like, what solution, how many hours? And if the technician can't answer it, one of the doctors comes in with expediency. The follow-up visits is truly where marketing is. This is how I generate quality referrals, educated referrals, is I allow time. Remember, it's simple, but it's not easy. Time is a huge commodity. In today's day and age, post-pandemic, if you want to call it post-pandemic, the way is numbers, right? Is volume. We got to see a high number of patients because our reimbursements, if they haven't been cut, they certainly haven't gone up with inflation. So when I finally made a decision to focus on myopia management, I was seeing 8 patients an hour. I can't believe it as I'm talking right now. I see 3. Why? I hired staff. I bought equipment. I had 2 pre-testing rooms. I had scribes. I had so many technicians. So you wonder why at the end of the month, even though we were a multi-million-dollar grossing practice, from the outside in that looked so unbelievably successful, at times, Barry and I couldn't take a check and we'd be scratching our head. We made $300,000 this month. How could that be? Well, there's leases, there's notes on this equipment. I have staff. I have to, there's a cost and there's a governor, right? I can only make as much as I can when you accept insurance. You hope the patient will get glasses or order their soft contacts from you, but that's a big hope right now because the market has opened up on commodities. They'll go elsewhere. There's so many avenues for people to get their glasses and contact lenses. It takes effort. It's like just like myopia management to say you should get them here. So when I relinquished that, stopped selling soft contacts, only did specialty care, it was a relief because I didn't have to focus on getting this patient to do X, Y, Z. I just do one thing, and it's actually liberating. So I allow time for questions, and I email patients afterwards. So let's see how it looks. So don't forget this note. Don't forget, myopia management is not a contact lens fit. If doctors squeeze patients into their schedule, they're going to fail. Because remember, even if you're an amazing fitter and you get good visual acuity and good myopia control, you haven't fulfilled the most important part to grow your practice is the spoken and unspoken needs. So I see 3 patients an hour. So every 20 minutes, my partner also sees 3 patients an hour. And sometimes we have 3, can you believe this? 3 ODs seeing 9 patients, all myopia management in an hour. And we all spend time. That's why, can I do probably 6 an hour? Yeah, I've been doing this for 20 years. But the thing is then I am just self-sabotaging myself. This is not a race. Remember, Patty Lund taught me this, is how do you have a happiness-centered office? You don't kill your staff. You certainly don't kill yourself, and you spend time with your patients. So I check their visual acuity, both with and without the lenses at every visit. I do, a good evaluation, topography, of course, slit lamp exam. We do A scans at every check at this point. But this is the majority of time. This takes me minutes, right? The technician does the topography, visual acuities. I spend time, number one, having a discussion. Is the child compliant? Are the lenses clean? Are they scratched? Is the child wearing them? Are they wearing them long enough? Are they following the protocol prescribed? If not, we talk about that. Johnny's got to wash his hands. These lenses are dirty. Then I say, if I make a change, a lot of you who do myopia management know you can't win sometimes. The child, you say you're going to make a change. The parent will say, why are you making the change? They're seeing so good. Are they seeing too good? If they're seeing blurry, why are you changing the lens? Did their eyes get worse? So if I don't spend the time to explain the reason for my change, showing them the topography, explaining why I may have changed the applanation zone, why I changed the diameter of the lens for better centration. Again, I'm just rushing them and I'm not addressing their unspoken need. I discuss screen time when it's appropriate. I discuss sleep. Sometimes you have a fifth grader, they look like they're going to fall asleep in your chair, and you ask them what time did they go to sleep, and they say 11. And I say, what grade are you in? And they say fifth. I said, why are you going to sleep at 11, 12 o'clock? And the parent goes, tell them, Dr. D, tell them. Well, I explained to the parent, I'll tell them, but don't yell at them on the way home because it negates everything that I say. So the child sees, now, not only do I advocate for the parent by telling them to go to sleep earlier and have a handout that shows, growth hormone is secreted at night. And when you're going through adolescence, that's when you grow, at night. And if you want to grow, you should sleep. It's good for your brain. It's good for your emotions. And I have handouts, but I also protect the child to say, listen, don't scream at them. They've heard you before. I'm a doctor. I'm telling them to go to sleep. Let's get 9 hours sleep. In college, they could sleep less. The parent listens to me. The child listens to me for about 2 weeks. And then I follow up with an email and say, hey, I had a note that I spoke to Johnny about sleeping. Any luck? And 60% of the time, it's like, oh, no, he's still going to sleep late. I put it in my record to talk about it next time. But you could see this unspoken need to help me raise my kids is there. The question is, will you make the time to market yourself so you will grow your specialty practice? And I talk a lot about outdoor time, and what I call unsupervised or non-directed outdoor play. Not just taking them to soccer practice and karate school and tennis lessons and swim lessons, just letting kids get bored. So we have as prizes, not only goodie bags, we have water balloons, we have so many activities, jump ropes, because I want parents to know kids are all right to go play outside. So we follow up with an email after every visit. It was great to see everyone yesterday. I'm writing to confirm that you do not have any questions at this time. I also copied Doctors D, Lee, and Noah on this email to keep them up to date on Samantha and David's care. Sincerely, Diane. So this is a simple email. I would say about 70% of the time it doesn't get answered. About 5% gets a complaint, and the remainder gets something like this. Thank you very much for this email. I was so glad to hear their vision had not gotten worse after all these years. It really is a miracle. That's a need. That's a want, right? I wanted their eyes not to get worse. It's a miracle that they've grown up and their eyes are relatively stable. Visiting Doctors D and Lee has always been such a pleasure for David and Samantha. Many things changed since their first visit. They grew taller, rebelled as teens, became independent. But one thing never changed: their appreciation while visiting your office and the snacks in the drawer. So that's a need. And this parent so articulately put it into words after so many years. Now, I don't know if she's an influencer or not, but at least I am influenced by her email. And I say, yeah, we're doing it. We're still doing it consistently after so many years. Her email went on. And the reason I added it is for you to kind of know what are parents thinking during the fitting process or the consultation. When walking into your office for the first time, I was so uncertain, feeling helpless as their vision was getting worse. Your warm greeting, professional explanation, confidence in the results, we're so grateful for your guidance and expertise throughout this journey. That is a want. It's hard for me to express all my feelings in words. You not only provide us with medical treatment, but also a role model as a doctor. This is, I think, why all of us get into a health profession, is seeing these type of emails and getting recognized is so good. So when do I see him? I see him next day, like most of you, 1 week, 1 month, but it's how much time I spend. And this is what I warn you, is that even if you start addressing the wants very carefully, this will certainly make you go from myopia management to dry eye. This is an Excel spreadsheet that a child is keeping, taking her monocular VAs and emailing it to me, thinking she's doing a great job. So if you're not taking care of the wants, something like this, you're going to just close your diagnostic kit and just move on. It happens more often than you're not. This is just a 7-year-old boy who is referred to me. And I think it's a shame. It's my colleague. He was my classmate. And it's a good OD. I would call him a great OD. He's accepting insurances. He prescribes minus 275. It seems like the copay is $10. He sold them a second pair of glasses and he recommended CRT. They came to me because he didn't spend the time, because he couldn't. He's accepting this vision plan for pennies, and then his whole focus is misguided in our profession. Really talk about something that I'm passionate about is doctor needs and wants. Nobody talks about our needs as health providers, because I have certain wants that I just took for granted. I figured when I became an optometrist, I knew I wouldn't be flying jets, but I thought I'd be financially independent. And I also thought that I would have a certain level of autonomy. So that's my spoken thinking wants, right? Financial independence, whatever that means for me, and autonomy. But I also had these subconscious needs. I became an optometrist for a certain level of respect from my patients, from my colleagues, from my staff. I also wanted to feel appreciated by my patients and my staff. And I wanted to have time with my family. So the reason why the bulk of my recommendation is you have to really look at these plans. Are they fulfilling not only your wants, but your needs? And the reason I'm motivated, see, you can grow a myopia management practice or any practice. I could have grown anything, to be honest with you, that I'm passionate about. But the reason it lasted as long as it does and still grew so much this year, our year-to-date numbers are so high, is because myopia management fulfills my needs of respect, appreciation, and spend time with family. I see patients 3 days a week, just like that nutty dentist. And the other time I work on the practice or work on my own life. You know, I always hear this thing, the great staff migration during the pandemic. And I really have gotten good with staff, and I teach a lot about it. And one of the lessons I learned is staff also has needs and wants. Their want is a salary, a decent salary, and stable hours. I think those are basic wants of anybody who works with us. I want to get paid and I want my hours to be stable. But their needs are huge. They need to be respected. And a lot of times we take that for granted because no one is working for us for just money. You know, certainly in my office, they could get paid probably $5 to $7 an hour more just working for Amazon across the street. We have Amazon, Starbucks, even McDonald's that sometimes pays higher than some of our technicians. But we treat them with respect. We're constantly providing opportunities for them to grow professionally. And we have a sense of community. And that is why I didn't have this great loss of staff during the pandemic, even when a lot of times they could have made more money in unemployment. It was the community. We were together in this. They stayed with me. So just to put it all together, marketing should be synonymous, in my opinion, with exceptional care. Educate your patients during and afterwards. And I would say even before. Take time during each and every visit. Correspond with urgency. Guys, this is really big. And understand the difference between needs and wants. The patient, the parent, the doctor, and the staff. And I'm going to leave you with this quote. If you don't change, we don't grow. If we don't grow, we are not really living. Growth demands a temporary surrender of security. And I think that's why most of us, you know, even after tonight's webinar, will say, yeah, I want to change, but you know what? I'm scared. And that fear is enough to kind of just stop right there. It may mean giving up a familiar but limiting pattern, safe but unrewarding work. So I want to talk a little bit about Vision by Design. Vision by Design is where I develop my skills to fit ortho-K lenses in myopia management. I first attended this probably in 2002 when Paragon became a CRT or CRT became approved. This year, it's in Washington State, Bellevue, Washington, September 28th through October 2nd. This is so different than any symposium that I have ever attended because there is a camaraderie in the hallways. There's a camaraderie within the lecture halls. You turn to the left, you turn to the right, and you say, hey, my name is Nick. The person responds, where do you practice? How do you practice? Have you ever fit an ortho-K lens? And we share information. So when I started, I desperately needed this because I was so insecure. I was so out of water. I just bought my topographer. I didn't know how to use it. I bought my diagnostic lens. My evaluations were taking hours. So I strongly recommend going to Vision by Design. If you're even remotely interested in myopia management, I will guarantee you that if you do leverage yourself by attending, you won't regret it. So in the chat box, I'll ask them to put a link to Vision by Design. But since we're all used to using QR codes, you can use your phone and take a picture of this QR code, or you could look it up at Vision by Design. And I can't overemphasize how much that has helped me become the practitioner that I am. During that workshop, and during that symposium, and only at this symposium for the past, it's got to be close to 20 years, since 2006, I've been providing my Supercharge Your Practice workshop. And there I go through how I do everything that I talked about. Tonight, I talk about why I do things and what I do, but step by step, attendees learn how I develop fees, exactly what I do for marketing, the handouts, everything, down to the instructions on how to do it. Patient management, which is so critical to get those qualified referrals, and what I call leadership, which is staff management. You know, just because we're good ODs or good eye professionals has no bearing on whether we're good business women or men, has no bearing if we're good managers. So I'll give you a flavor of what this course is about. It's a full day course on a Tuesday. It's several $1,000s to attend. But all the attendees who are enrolled now, 90% of them are alumni because they get a return on their investment almost immediately going back to the office. Well, how do I attain that? As I'm going through the day, there's a master journal or tasklet, and they're setting goals while they're either in the workshop or they're prioritizing it to get to it afterwards. You know what happens after the workshop? Your roof leaks, your office manager quits, and that symposium that we attend goes out the window. In their journal, they say, listen, I have to set up consultation spots. Is that an A, B, C, or D priority? Maybe they already have it. And who is the doctor or staff member that's going to take care of this? And they label it with a date. During the webinar, they set their fees. They do the different levels and how much they're going to charge. And then they aspire to change those charges. They divide a maintenance level because my program's 2 years. So what are you going to do in year 3, year 4, year 5? How are you going to recall them? How are you going to get them to come back? And how much are you going to charge? And how are you going to track this? How are you going to track your system? So step by step in the first module, I go exactly how to do it. The second module, I start expanding on what we talked about tonight, which is marketing. And I use a book called The Pumpkin Plan as a model. How do you make yourself worthy of a referral? And I show them step by step. This is just a brief outline. Out of office, we do emails and phone calls and text messages. We use expediency. So we get worthy of chat, of buzz on WeChat, on Facebook, and just any neighborhood group. That's what our goal is. In office, we talk about the importance of sleep, like I discussed. I give you the handouts. I give you the timing of giving those handouts. Screen time, posture, is the child getting close to their reading material, lighting, and leadership. I talk a lot about eye contact and how we need eye contact for empathy. You know what I tell this type A parent? Your child will probably do very well on their SATs, and they'll have a great GPA. And they'll also have a lot of volunteering. They will have a resume to get into college. But you know what? It's not enough, because a lot of the better colleges are requiring interviews, face-to-face interviews. Certainly jobs are having even virtual face-to-face interviews. And God forbid, relationships require face-to-face. If your child doesn't learn how to look at people and act with some level of engagement, they may not achieve the goals that they have set, you have set for them, and they have set for themselves. So that's the marketing aspect. Then I go into patient management. I go step by step. Exactly what do you do during the consultation? So you'll see I demonstrate to the child refraction. I give them a snack bag. I do lens insertion, a CRT lens, snack bag number 2. I call fluorescein carrot juice, and I let the parents videotape the fluorescein pattern while the child is looking in a mirror. So I break the ice. I give them another snack, 3 goodie bags upon removal, and I sign them readings. So that's the flow chart for the child. For the parent, I say, is your child on the screen a lot? Oh, yes. If they say no, I move on. Importance of daylight. How many hours a day do they go outside? Kids are going out just hours a week, like every other day for an hour, 2 hours. It's terrible. I take photographs of their retina and I go through it with detail with the parent, including the topography. I review how CRT works, and I sign the parent reading. And this is very important. I recommend, whether it's soft multifocals, atropine, CRT, I make a strong recommendation. And then, of course, I email them afterwards. In the 4th module, I expand in detail. You're only going to be as happy as your staff. So I talk about and I share with attendees help guides, which are basically, how do you answer the phone? How do you do a topography? How do you scribe for me in the exam room? A position agreement is you now, what job descriptions, what help guides are you responsible for? Do you answer the phone? Do you scribe? Do you do topography? Do you edge lenses? So this way, not only do you know how to do your tasks, you know what tasks you're assigned. And then I have meetings every day. Remember that community I'm talking about? It's critical. Every day, even when I don't see patients, I have a 5-minute huddle in the beginning. And I say, we could talk about things like, hey, who's out today? What does the schedule look like? But also, hey, where's Jody today? What's going on in her life? Who got COVID today? How are we going to address this? What are the new COVID rules? Whatever's on the staff's mind, remember, I'm fulfilling my staff's needs. And of course, I teach you how to do reviews, how to give raises, how to be competitive in a very competitive environment. And I love this book, and I recommended Brene Brown, Dare to Lead. Daring leaders work to make sure people can be themselves and feel a sense of belonging. Salary is what keeps our staff engaged. We don't spiff our staff for myopia management. We don't stiff our parents for referrals. They are engaged in our care. I go in detail. I heard this saying by, I think it was Brian Tracy, hire slowly, even when you're desperate, fire quickly. And it's so true. So I go into detail, even drug testing and background checks. How do you hire great staff? It starts with the hiring process. So I go step by step through the hiring process. And I want to read you a testimonial, because I can't sell you my workshop, but I can tell you I've been doing this a long time, and attendees come back every year because I'm committed to your success, probably more than you are. Here's an OD who says, single best course I've ever taken for my practice, period. The mindset you learn at Supercharge can change your entire outlook on practicing optometry. And not just Ortho-K, other specialty services like VT, Sports Vision, and other self-paced services, even LipiFlow. Have been influenced in my practice by what Nick taught me all those years ago. If you are on the fence about attending, you have 2 choices: get off the fence and change your practice for the better, or resign yourself to whatever vision plans will allow you to have. Either way, you are making a choice. Change your mindset and improve your practice, or do nothing different. and believe what you're already doing is the best it can be. It's up to you. This guy sounds like me here. So during the journal, I tell attendees, this is what you're going to expect. This comes from the book, Atomic Habits. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. It's so true. We don't take big steps, right? It's little incremental steps towards a goal is what makes us successful, in my opinion. So compound interest seems to make little difference on a given day. However, the impact they deliver over months and years is enormous. It's only when you're looking back 2, 5, 10 years is when the value of good habits and the cost of bad ones becomes strikingly apparent. So what this graph is showing, after this webinar, even after my workshop, you're like all hyped up and you say, my myopia management my practice is going to grow linearly straight up. And you know that's just BS. It's not the way life works. You have this valley of disappointing. You're like, oh, sugar, it's not working. And that's when everybody quits in that yellow area. So that's why during the workshop, we set 1-year goals, 10-year goals. We even write eulogies, as gray as that sounds. At the end of my life, I know exactly what I want. I don't want you to say Nick was the best ortho-K fitter. Nick had the highest grossing or highest netting myopia management. I want to say Nick changed my life. And that's what this course does. So I have attendees write down, what do they want their family to say? What do they want to represent at the end of the day? And we even write in detail a 10-year plan, because let me say, if you're fortunate enough, you'll be there. This is another testimonial. Supercharge is by far one of the best workshops I've ever attended. Within a short period of time, Nick manages to inspire, motivate, and present the most simplified approach and foolproof method to success with ortho-K. He logically and systematically outlines the steps needed to prosper while providing all the needed tools. This workshop is definitely a must for any practitioner interested in myopia control and ortho-K. I didn't write this. This OD did. So in conclusion, for people who attend the workshop, the cost of the workshop is $4,000. In August, if you sign up, you get an early bird special of $250 off. And if you are a member, if you've registered for the Wu University workshop, you get that doubled to a total of $500 off. And there'll be a link. I actually have a QR code, and you'll get an email basically urging you to make a decision by Sunday. I promise you, you won't regret it. I know it's a lot of time away from your office, away from your family. It's costs of hotels, and it's a cost of the workshop and everything that I've titled. But that's orchestrated because the people who attend now have leverage to immerse themselves. So I urge you to have a leap of faith and take my course. Listen, it was a privilege to speak to you tonight. I hope you hung on all the way to this time, and hopefully we'll get to meet in person at Vision by Design. Have a great night. If you email me, I'll try my very best. Remember, I'm a practitioner like you, but I'll get back to you. Have a great night.